Hi, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, really good.
I assume more people will come, but it looks like we're having a slow roll in this morning.
Yeah. Well, if it's just me and you, that's okay. We can
Cool.
do whatever.
How's your practice going?
Very good. I went through a lot of hardships with retiring from my teaching job. I was a teacher for 36 years. I'm a media specialist, and I went through like an extreme period of exhaustion. And I started meditating and really resting my body. I mean, I was like a serious type A personality and started really resting it. I mean, being still
Mm-hmm.
and meditating, and it really helped me so much. So I'm happy to work with you.
Oh, I'm happy to have you. You know, it's interesting you say that because the teaching that was coming forward was practically exactly about that tonight. So that might be something good to
Cool.
talk about.
Yes, that's awesome. Good.
I must be feeling you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad time during the COVID era, and my media specialist job kind of got defuncted.
Mm,
And I had to go into a classroom with K through 5, and I'm not used to that. And
yeah.
so it really became very, very intense.
It really shook up everybody's life, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did.
All right, guys. Let's just take a moment and sink into the room. We're all coming from busy days. Let's just give ourselves a chance to kind of come to a stop. In that stop, you come to realize that you're actually in a room, that there's sounds around you that you weren't even hearing, that you can even hear the outdoors. In that moment of transition, we come to realize that we weren't present. I don't just mean we weren't practicing present moment consciousness. I mean, literally, we weren't here. We were somewhere else, spinning around a world of memories. Even the stuff that looks like the future is just a memory. It's you projecting a memory onto the future. A virtual world in which we get stuck. Some people will spend their entire life in that virtual world, pulling from days they've already lived. So much of it just from your childhood back when you were still present and creating new experiences. And then life comes in every now and again to shock you out of it. And it makes such an impression on you that it scars the whole system. But in meditation, we come out of that. We show up for the room we're in. At first, it feels like being with a stranger, maybe even a little uncomfortable. But anyone who's done that in this class for any amount of time knows that eventually it becomes the only comfort. It becomes the source of real comfort. So just take a moment and breathe with me in this space. Listen with your ears. See with your eyes. Feel with your skin. And show up. And just decline any offer to leave that space. That ocean of personality is always there. Step out of the water for a while. For anyone new, the way we do that is we place our attention at the forehead and crown. Then we let our eyes fall to some spot in front of us or on the floor, but we leave them open. And we just slip into that space where we can just be present while we watch our breath. And in the first few minutes, that feels like a limitation, like a restriction. But as you come to accept it, what looked like a very narrow line opens up into a whole world of exploration. All of it as your real self. So let's do that. As you breathe in, you're aware that you're breathing in. As you breathe out, you're in this room, aware that you're breathing out. In between the inhale and the exhale, you're aware of that little gap of space that opens up in the transition. And you just let that be enough. What if that's all there is that's real? Can you let that be enough? Because the moment you stop asking it to be something else, something really magical happens to the most important part of you. Your awareness expands. So be here, present, watching your breath, and let that be enough. Anna's asking a question. She's asking, is awareness intuition? No, not really. Intuition comes from awareness. When you are just aware so that you can take in clean impressions from your environment, and that's not just visual, that's what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel kinesthetically. All of that comes together synergistically. Those five senses come together synergistically, and that synergy creates something akin to a sixth sense. It's not really a sixth sense, but it is the product, what can be inferred from clean awareness with your five senses. You'll pick up on the subtlest of things, and they will flash in your mind as a knowing. And maybe there's no one piece of sensory input that can corroborate it, but because you have been working in that way, you've been gaining wisdom through your senses, and you start to recognize patterns. And you slip into knowledge belts of pattern recognition that have existed in humanity for thousands of years. And so from that arises intuition. A very natural thing. It can present through any sense, but it's your awareness with all the senses that causes that knowledge. What sense it shows up in is just how you're choosing to interpret it. So don't reach for intuition. That's the surefire way not to find it. If you want to develop intuition, work with your five senses. Be open, be present. Hear, listen, smell, taste, and touch in this perfect moment. Free it from any of your stories. there's nowhere to get to. Stop pushing forward. You're already there. But you have to unfold into it. Nothing to look for, nothing to achieve. Humans are like a constellation of stars in the sky. If they just open up and let it be what it is, they have their course. They have their right timing. They're already moving in all the right ways, in perfect harmony. They have the power of the entire universe at their disposal. They don't have to figure out how to be what they are. They just let go and they are it. And all the power is there. Most humans live like a star that thinks they have to push really hard to the right or the left, or lunge forward or fall back. And it all averages out to the same positioning. They're still a star. Their relationship to everything around them is still the same. But they use all their energy pushing and pulling. All the stories of your life are just there to push you and pull you, to conjure up feeling states that can't last on their own. They can throw things up and then they come crashing down. And it's just a star wiggling to the right or the left, up, down, when it's never really going to move from its true self. But you can feel when you stop all of that. You can feel yourself. At first it feels like dipping in to the power of the universe. It feels like dipping into this stillness and comfort. But you're not dipping into anything. You are that. You've just stopped covering it up. everything in the world of stories is on borrowed energy, bouncing from one extreme to its opposite. It's built out of limitation. And then you let go of it all. You let go of it all and you let yourself be exactly what you are. And what you are contains everything. To let go of yourself, you have to let go of everything. Try it now. Let go of your body. Release your stories from the day. Show up in this room. Here you are, being you. Breathing in this room. Step into that. That's step one. But now, can you also let go of the room and still be in it? Can you just forget everything you know about it, but still be present? It's like you're giving the room permission to become whatever it needs to become. The walls can stay solid or they can move around. You could even let go of their name. You don't have to name something to be present with it. To give it its freedom. Do that now. Recognize that you've been holding it in place and give it its freedom. what's really changing when you do that. Maybe the room changes. But can you see how that changes you? What you're letting go of is you. Your system of stories. Stories you put on automatic pilot. Stories that spend your energy to hold everything in place. You can only have what you can give. And what you give to another, you're giving to yourself. Give the room its freedom. Let it become whatever it needs to become. Let it find its true nature. And when it finds it, don't store it. Let it continue to grow and change and morph and build so that you can grow and change and morph and build. There's nothing wrong with a structured story. But at some point, you stop telling the story and the story starts telling you. More accurately, you forget that you're the one telling the story. And you forget that you are that story. You are every player. that story is the construct of yourself. How many characters in that story are you holding rigidly in place? Sure, you know everything about them. All their strengths and limitations. That's you you're holding in place. Maybe they showed you who they were. But more likely, we were casting a role. And so they slipped into it. Those of you who are sensitive, you know that experience. When you get around somebody and you find behavior coming out of you that is inconsistent with your idea of yourself. We pull our characters out of the woodwork of life, and then we take no responsibility for them. We hold them in place. The whole time, we are the ones that are held in place. It's our character, our villain, our saint, our victim. That's what it means when you can set a room free, where you can let a wall become whatever it needs to become, and you feel that deep change inside of you. That's what that means. You were casting the wall so that you had something that could separate one space from another space. You were casting the role of chair. So that there would be an experience of relaxation and letting go. You cast the role of friend. You cast the role of victim. You cast the role of villain. And all of the multifarious world of nuances between those things. But they're all projections of you. Not theoretically, not conceptually, but actually. As evidenced by the fact that when you release them from their role, the fundamental change happens to you, not them. If they're sensitive, they get the relief of not having your projected role placed upon their energy body. Often you'll pull somebody in with a symbiotic casting system, you know. You're looking for a victim, they're looking for a victimizer, and vice versa. but it's only your part that matters. You'll have to see this 1,000,000 times. We all do. And it's the first thing that slips away when you get busy in life. I've worked with many, many spiritual teachers. I've never met one that stayed awake to this 100% of the time. Our ability to fall asleep to it is part of the mechanism of the universe. So you get lost in it, and then you get the spiritual experience of waking up within it. And you do that over and over, and what evolves are the things you get lost in. How deeply you get lost. How quickly you wake back up. But you can practice it. You can practice it by letting go of inert objects. A room, a chair, a bed, a TV. You can stop storing all these roles and identities. And by the shift they make in you, you can see the role that is played in your life, in your sense of self. And you can start to cast your world more intelligently. Nothing to think about there. Instead, step back into this moment and just pay attention to what is. And just continue to let everything be exactly what it needs to be. Give it its freedom. From that space, you'll find you have everything you need. Let's do that for about 10 minutes and then we'll end for the night. Your freedom is a gift you give yourself. You don't get it by taking it. You get it by giving it to every person, animal, and thing in this world. You don't get it by taking it. You don't get it by what you push away. You get it by giving it to everything and every being in this world. Show yourself that this week. A teaching almost no one will stumble upon, but you've had it handed to you. You have to work with it. You have to do it. It comes from the depth of your being. And the second you're giving it unconditionally, you have it. It's not a product of the story, so it doesn't take time. The second you're released into giving it, you have it. Show yourself that this week. Any questions before we end? All right, everyone. Have a good night. I'll be here next Thursday.